It's a terrible story for Kamala Harris yesterday. Emerges via CNN. Andrew Kaczynski, who's actually an excellent reporter, he digs into kind of the past of all candidates on all sides of the aisle. He really is fair. I think that Andrew Kaczynski and I disagree on politics, but that doesn't matter. He's a good reporter over at CNN. So he has dug up a fact via K-File, which is that Kamala Harris told the ACLU in 2019 that she supports cuts to ICE funding and providing gender transition surgery to detained minors. So if you bring like a 13-year-old kid across the border and that kid wants American taxpayers to fund surgery, she wants taxpayers to pay for that. Even CNN's Erin Burnett was like, what now? What now? Remember, this is Kamala Harris. She's a radical lib, very, very far to the left. Here's CNN even being shocked by how far left Kamala Harris was running in 2019, 2020.
She said on immigration, she made this open-ended pledge to end immigrant detention. She said she supported taxpayer-funded gender transition surgeries for detained migrants. She also said she
taxpayer-funded gender transition surgeries for detained migrants. She actually said she supported that.
She both wrote and answered in the affirmative when she was asked this. Oh. And she said she also supported it for federal prisoners. Now, she also pledged to slash immigration detention by 50%, close all family and private facilities, and decrease funding for ICE, and then end ICE detainers with local law enforcement.
I mean, these are things that, you know, it would be hard to think that you would come up with taxpayer funding gender transitions for detained migrants, and yet this, as you say, written and verbally.
I mean, that's a pretty amazing thing. Even CNN is kind of stunned by that. Why does that matter? Because when it comes to immigration, she's now running as a hardliner on immigration, which is absurd. It's all crazy. Your body needs more than just kale smoothies to operate at its best, which is why I want to tell you about Momentus. I don't believe in sort of fads or gimmicks. I believe in hard work and results. That's exactly what Momentus, creatine, omega-3, and protein deliver. These three supplements support nearly every aspect of foundational health, from aiding cognitive function to reducing muscle and joint inflammation. My good friend and colleague Christine is a triathlete and a mom to a toddler. She's been taking the supplements daily. She's not only crushing it on the Peloton every morning, she is dominating at work as well. It's like a secret weapon for people who want to outwork the competition. Now, in a world of questionable products, Momentus stands out. They work with only the best experts in the business. They use only the highest quality ingredients. What's on the label is what's in the product and nothing else. Straight fact, no nonsense. And here's something that really impresses me. Momentus heavily invests in third-party testing. They hold their products to the standard set by the most demanding organizations in the world, including the NFL and the NBA. If you want to take supplements that are made by and used by the best in the world, go to livemomentus.com/Shapiro or use code Shapiro for 20% off. That's livemomentus.com/Shapiro. This has become the sort of talking point for people who want Kamala Harris to win, is that she needs to cut Joe Biden loose. That's a direct quote from Jonathan Chait. Jonathan Chait writes for New York Magazine. He has an entire piece titled, Kamala Harris Should Cut Joe Biden Loose. Quote, Kamala Harris is navigating a tricky dilemma, according to the New York Times. She will try to promote herself as a change candidate without criticizing President Biden. I have no reason to doubt this accurately conveys the calculus within the Harris campaign. My question is, why is this a struggle? Why not directly repudiate unpopular Biden positions? Joe Biden is literally one person. He lives in a safe state. Harris doesn't have to worry about forfeiting his vote. Even the universe of people who are personally loyal to Biden and might take offense at slights to his accomplishments consists entirely of partisan Democrats who will vote for the Democrat at the end of the day. Rather than trying to balance loyalty to Biden against catering to the desires of the electorate, Harris's strategy should focus entirely on catering to the public with no attention whatsoever to Biden's feelings. This ignores a simple fact, which is that the Democratic Party represents these positions. It is not just Joe Biden. Joe Biden was, as a politician, I use the past tense because he's no longer with us. Joe Biden was a politician who always and forever took his flag and planted it in the middle of the Democratic parade. So wherever the parade moved, he was always dead center of the parade. That was always his shtick. Joe Biden was never a leader in terms of thought in the Democratic Party. He was never the edgy guy like Bernie Sanders. He was never a visionary like Barack Obama. He wasn't any of those people. Joe Biden was always a typical corrupt Democratic politician who simply went wherever the prevailing winds in the Democratic Party blew. So in the 1990s, he was very anti-crime, so much so that he co-sponsored the 1994 crime bill. And by the time we hit 2020, he was suddenly Black Lives Matter. How does that happen? It wasn't an evolution. It's that he moves his flag all over the field and plants it wherever the Democratic Party is. So attempting to repudiate Joe Biden's positions on these issues is in fact repudiating the Democratic Party position. It's the only thing Joe Biden was ever good at, was putting his finger in the air, figuring out which way the wind was blowing, and then moving in that direction. Joe Biden is a weather vane of a politician. And so if you repudiate the weather vane, what do you end up with? Does Jonathan Chait want her to run as a moderate, or does he want her to run as a Bernie Sanders radical? What exactly does he want her to do? And the problem is, if she runs as a moderate, she is running directly against her own record, because Kamala Harris is very much like Joe Biden as a politician. She has sort of more radical instincts than Joe Biden. Joe Biden's older, he's from a different generation. She has very much AOC, San Francisco leftist instincts, politically speaking, as we'll talk about in a moment. However, she is, as a politician, extremely manipulative, and she moves exactly on the map where she thinks the Democratic Party needs to be at any given time, or where they are at any given time. So she'll be the most left-leaning member of the United States Senate. She'll rush in the front of that parade in 2019. And then the minute that it turns out that the country doesn't like that stuff, she'll try to move over back toward the middle. So what exactly is it that she can repudiate? The answer is nothing. She can't repudiate any of this. But Thomas Friedman is telling her to do the same thing. Thomas Friedman, the most cloddish and doltish of all foreign policy columnists, signs into chat to explain what he thinks is the plan for Kamala Harris. He says, the 23 words Harris needs to say to win. Quote, Joe and I got a lot of things right, but we got some things wrong too. And here is what I have learned. For my money, says Thomas Friedman, uttering those 23 words or something like them is the key for Kamala Harris to win Tuesday's debate against Donald Trump and the election. Utter them and she will hugely improve her chances to win more of the undecided voters in this tight race. Fail to utter them or continue to disguise her policy shifts with the incoherent statement she used in the CNN interview, that while her positions might have changed on fracking and immigration, quote, my values have not changed, and she will struggle. Madam VP, says Thomas Friedman. Again, Thomas Friedman wants her to win. He hates Donald Trump with the fiery, burning passion of 1,000 suns. He says, Madam VP, if you say your positions have changed, but your values haven't, what does that even mean? And what should we expect from your presidency? Your values or your actions? Our latest poll shows too many voters still don't know. Okay, the problem is, if she says the thing he wants her to say, she loses the election. If she says, we got a lot of things right, but we got a bunch of things wrong, and here's what I learned, Donald Trump is going to say, you got those things wrong because you are bad at the job, and you shouldn't be offered a second chance given your record. The minute she says that, she's toast. So she's stuck in a box. Realistically speaking, if the American people vote on policy and not on vibes, she's going to lose. It is that simple. If they vote on policy and not on vibes, she is in serious trouble. Are you tired of the lies and the twists of the mainstream media talking points? Yeah, me too. Join me in my newest series, Fact, where I dismantle and bring truth to this tiring mainstream agenda.